Bliss, Love, and Lavender. I am Nubia Kamisha Sade, your Femininity Peak Performance Coach. And on this video, I'm going to share with you the common misconception about speaking more feminine. You may have been told that you come off assertive or that you speak too masculine. You may have been told that you need to watch how you talk to people. You may have been told this in your romantic relationships or even in your family dynamics. The great news is that I'm going to uncover a common misconception about speaking more feminine. So let's demythify this, right? Speaking more feminine. When people say or have told you that you need to speak more feminine, what they are saying is that your words are hurtful or they come off harsh or your delivery doesn't feel good to them. And so, what I want you to do is get very excited because the misconception about speaking more feminine stops at your tonality. It's not just about your tonality and how you say things. You may have been told that you need to speak more softer. That's the first part. What happens is when you get this feel that you need to speak more feminine or you need to speak softer, or someone tells you that, this is what you do. You go online, you go onto YouTube, and then you start binging all of these videos about you speaking softer. You try it and it works. It works a little bit, right? For a little bit of time. But then you slowly resort back to how you originally communicate. Now, here's the thing. When you do this, your communication style, which is the feminine way that you were learning and binging and trying to gain a grasp of, that style is not embedded on a subconscious level. It's on a more conscious level, which means that it's in the front of your brain and it's more performative. So when you were doing this feminine communication, you may have felt like you were performing. You may have even like laughed at yourself a little bit. But this is what happens when this is not a subconscious change, when you don't change your communication style on a subconscious level, and it's more of a conscious performative thing. And again, you may have like joked on yourself a little bit like, oh my gosh, was that me? Did I talk like that? So here's the thing. Feminine communication and speaking more feminine does not stop at tonality. It can start there. But you have so many things like pace, body language, ensuring that you are using the right archetype communication style for the right situations, the way you strategically position your words, the emotional regulation process that happens when it's time to conflict resolute, right? How are your conflict resolution skills? Can you still perform with the feminine voice when there's conflict? Also, there's a method of communication where you can actually speak from your chakra, a specific chakra. We get more in depth with that in a moment. But I say all that to say it doesn't start with fixing your words. Like speaking more feminine doesn't start with fixing your words. It's a psychology. You have to unlearn and then relearn how to communicate in a way that's effective and feminine. And I keep using feminine because, again, when you are told to speak more feminine or you need to speak more softly, what you do is, and what we do is, we start with our tonality, which is amazing. And that's some of it, but it gets so much deeper. I was having a conversation actually the other day, and I was talking to a young lady about feminine communication. And she shared with me some of the challenges that she have is being emotionally charged when trying to communicate, and then her words being scrambled because she's so emotionally charged. She talked about how frustrating it is when you're having a conversation with someone and all they want to do is share their piece and all they want to do is respond to what you're saying. They're not listening. And because of that frustration, it makes her, again, scramble her words. She also talked about the passive aggressiveness that she just uses to get through the process. When you get frustrated, you usually just want to get through a process. when you're having a conversation with someone and you're seeing that it's not going in the direction that it was supposed to go in, you just move right along and you just want to go through the process. And that underlying frustration creates a level of aggression. It's very passive. It's very passive, but it is aggression. So unlearning the way you were brought up and the communication style that maybe was shared within your household. Dysfunctional communication is a very, very common communication style amongst a lot of households. And maybe you grew up in a household where everything got swept under the rug. And what goes on in this house stays in this house. And everybody's shh about problems. So when it was time for a conversation to be had, it was very passive. And a lot of the things that you knew needed to be said were never said. Or maybe you grew up in a dynamic where there was dysfunction and there was a lot of passive aggressiveness. So a lot of like joking when there was obviously some seriousness there, a lot of subliminal conversations. And you can also identify some of these patterns in maybe your romantic dynamics. There's two ways that we are crafted and how our mind is crafted to converse messages to each other. Childhood and then romantic dynamics. So if in childhood you didn't have any dysfunctions, maybe you had a relationship that was highly, highly just super dysfunctional, and you learned how to communicate through that dysfunction. And now you're in so many ways stuck in that communication style. And then when it's time for you to communicate with people who actually know how to communicate, you have challenges. And so unlearning the way you were brought up with communication, or even the way you were brought up in your romantic dynamic, because typically we're in these romantic relationships for years at a time. So you're getting raised on how to develop your character when you're in these relationships. Relationships are your greatest teachers. And so unlearning and then relearning the psychology of feminine communication, that's how you're going to change the way you communicate, upgrade your communication style, and then have it be more permanent and more subconscious and not necessarily something you have to think about or perform. It's something that flows. And so there's something else that happens, right? When you are trying to communicate and wanting to communicate, you realize, you know what? Let me wait until he make me real mad, or let me wait until they make me real mad. Then I'm gonna really say what I have to say. I'm gonna give it to him. Just wait. Let it happen one more time. You ever said that? Let it happen one more time. Like eat him up. And this is, again, this is what we've learned. This is what we've seen. This is what's been demonstrated. So this impacts the quality of our relationships and also the influence that we have on how others treat us. Did you know the way you communicate can be the exact formula for high levels of influence? What do I mean by that? Well, if you have a habit of communicating at a high level and speaking more feminine, you become so influential because you're very trustworthy. And so the way others treat you, especially as women, the way a person treats you means a lot to you. The way your partner treats you means a lot to you. And the key to be able to yield that treatment to feel good to you, to feel like respect, to be honored, to feel like the princess that you are, like the Disney princess that you are, and that you grew up seeing and fantasizing. You have to be able to be influential. That means you go first. That means you go first. And so I know that, again, your tonality with speaking more feminine is important, but there is layers and there is levels to speaking more feminine. Femininity doesn't sound like anything. It has more of a feel. It's a feeling. And so if you want to learn more on how you can develop your communication skills, and to speak more feminine. Feminine influence and communication is a beautiful, beautiful skill to embody, especially as a woman. Because if you go online or you do the typical self-help books, courses, and trainings, you will find a lot of the frameworks and a lot of the teachings are geared towards men. So about, I want to say, let's say like a week ago. A week ago, I went on this audio binge where I was just binging a lot of audiobooks. I love to listen and multitask. I'm an Aquarius. I love to do the things. I love to do the things and learn and expand my brain. Like I love to feel like I'm enlightened. Okay. And so I was listening to all of these audiobooks. And so I went through a bunch of them. How to Win Friends and Influence People, a bunch of self-help personal development books, really famous books. And I thought they were incredible. And then I seen the author and I was like, okay, this is coming from a man's perspective. And you know what? I think they're really great, especially in the workplace. But when it comes to our personal relationships, as a woman, you need feminine communication. You need to be able to be influential. You need to be able to nurture with your words. You need to be able to motivate and inspire and know when to do it and when not to do it. You need to be able to know the multifaceted layers that make up your femininity because femininity is so in depth. This is the reason why I'm for the girlies. I am so for making femininity simple because it's so deep. Have you ever been told that you're an emotional creature? Growing up, have you ever been told that you were dramatic? Have you ever been told that you are very emotional? You've been told all of these things when you were growing up, but you were never told how to regulate your emotions. You were never told how to manage those emotions. You were never told how being dramatic can actually work in your favor. You were never told that. You were told, don't do it, or you were clowned for it. So with feminine communication, you're going to learn how to use your emotions that you should have, despite what you've been told. You should have really big emotions. You are expansive. Femininity is expansive. You are an expansive being. You should have all of those. I mean, you need everything. You need all of them. You should have them. But you just got to know how to use them. And then using them in a way where your communication can put you in the right situations. And your communication can guide you out of the wrong situations. And your communication is something that you're proud of. And you're not resentful and you're not looking back at moments like, did I say that? Oh my God, why didn't I say this? Why did I say that? I didn't even say what I really wanted to say. You ever felt like that? You are so big. You have so many emotions. You have so much to say. And I know that. And this is the reason why when you master this art of communication, you really start living life by design in relationships, in career, with family. Everything becomes this beautiful design because you are now able to articulate yourself and articulate your words in a way where people want to join in on your party. Because you have this energetic aura of confidence around you because you are clear, you are certain, and you have mastered, practiced time and time and time again. And you subconsciously now have feminine communication as a skill that you do not have to think about or you do not have to perform. So to learn more, to learn how to work with me, you can comment below on this video, feminine, and we'll talk in the private messages. And if you are on YouTube, feel free, comment the word feminine or click the link to whatever I have for you here. Still working that part out for you. Nevertheless, feminine communication is not just about tonality. It is about positioning. It is about body language. It is about the right archetype for the right situation. It is about the way you strategically position your words. It is about your emotional regulation process. And it is also about which chakra are you speaking from. When you get this right, when you get this right, mm, universe expands inside your hands. All right. Thank you for watching. What's up?